Hey, welcome back to Dynasty SMP. You've only seen a short Enderman attack clip, but here we are, and we're making a moss farm. We're using the armor stand mod from Foxy No Tail. Get the max chunk borders here. You can get a lot of chunk borders loaded up to chunk align everything or whatever. It's pretty handy. There was also a mob spawn radius thing in there. If you didn't see that, that was in there. But yeah, this is the iron farm. Got a delivery just now. Got a pretty good one going on there. It's a buffer silent whisper farm. We got 60 villagers opposed to 20 or whatever he does in the video. Obviously, it's still his design. He tells you can do more, but we modified it a little bit with a zombie guy, but about it. Gotta get some donkeys over here. Maybe we build right here. Yeah. So, I didn't want to bore y'all with the details, so here we go, straight into the build here. Chose this chunk right here. It's pretty good out of the way, and can still be a part of the city. It's within the border wall. We're doing like a medieval walled city type deal. And so, you'll see that. That's our dock area. It's not really our docks, actually. It's a bridge to a larger island. But anyways, back to the moss farm here. Now, I had a few different ideas. So, you're going to see a few turnarounds here and there and whatnot. But for the most part, everything is pretty easy to look at and be like, oh, okay, yeah. And get the idea, right? So, we're gonna check out this time lapse here, and we'll let y'all enjoy the moss farm building. This is my own design. I had fun with it, chunk aligned it, stone generated it, some parts were frustrating, but overall it was fun, and I like to experiment with redstone and stuff, so it was cool to do that and see it work in the end pretty well, actually. So let's get to it, and you can see it yourself. Alright, and here we go. so I may have placed them in the wrong area. That's okay. No big deal. It's all an experimental process, right? And I also did this a bit late at night after a heavy smoking session, so there's a few points where it was like, wow, should have been obvious, but, you know. Like, the clock that we made up here, I designed a way to turn it off and forget the arrow directions of the repeaters, and so that kind of ends up being a problem later that I have to go through and scratch my head at for a minute later on. I don't know if we'll see it in this fast-paced time-lapse or not. We got the stone generator on and working, so the clock's working, so now this is the area I'm talking about where I'm trying to figure out a way to turn it off and on, and I do get a system working at, eventually, but here in the beginning I kind of forget a whole process. I had a brain fart at one point, a little ADD, and I stopped for a second, scratched my head, and was like, what was I doing? And then I started doing something else on the farm, and then when I tried to get the, stuff going, the generator stopped working because the, clock here was broken, so it was pretty bad, like, oops, right? And this initial one, I don't know what I was thinking either, because it's like, well, let's see, yeah, there it is. That was it right there, line mistake. So that's not going to work from that point there, but we come back to it later and fix it up, after I cover it all up, of course, and we'll see that. Alright, back to it. Editor popping back in here, and yeah, so this is me experimenting with the moss generation and the radius that it can expand, basically. I wanted to see how much it would turn an area, and it ends up being a 7x7 square. It'll probably go by a little too fast to really see it clearly, but it's a 7x7 square, and the corners never quite go, so it's not quite a square, but also the ones directly underneath it didn't seem to do anything either, so that might be something to wonder about, but yeah, there's me counting there. And so now this is where I figure out the generator's not working, and we have to redo the clock turn off design here. Take a minute to work it out, because it's getting later in the night. My brain was not working as good, so it took me a little longer than I care to admit, but we got it done. And it works, so that's all that really matters, right? In the end. They had to flip it over to the other side completely, and after realizing the repeaters were the direction they were in, and then bam, there we go. It works. Good deal. So we move on to the rest of the experimentation of figuring out the how many I can do, basically, and it ends up being 2. I do 7 blocks on one side, 7 blocks on the other, and then we have 2 slots at the end of the 13 blocks of the stone that get generated. 2 that aren't really necessary, and the water would stop at, and it would be a big pain, so a obsidian or what I use in the video here is extended pistons, because I had plenty. So if you extend a piston, have it, powered or whatever, it can't be pushed by blocks. So it's as good as obsidian. Doesn't look as good, I guess, but it works for my purposes and keeps the other mobs that might spawn in from going anywhere past that piston gap. So, we work it out here, and we've got 2 dispensers in the end, doing 7x7 squares, right? End up adding 2 rows to the stone generator as well, making it 16, and so I have to extend the signal as well at some point, and all that gets done here pretty quickly. And that's just for the design. I take all these blocks out in the end. Let's see, and there we go. And so we've got the dispenser placements. It's looking symmetrical, looking nice. And I've done a couple of moss farms before, so luckily I knew what to do. Here's the expansion here. I expanded by 1. It's not enough. I expanded by another one. So make it nice and symmetrical. And then we also, of course, want as much production as possible, so as much coverage is better. It's symmetrical and more coverage, so yay. And well, here we go. Some more moss farm speed footage. It's actually not as bad as I thought it might be. My other video program, when I sped videos up, it did not look as good. I mean, it's still a little janky, and we'll work on that, but not too bad. Had to go get supplies here and there, and I cut a lot of them out later on, but here in the earlier stages, it's a little bit weird. And that's the extension, because it's 16, and redstone pulse only goes 15. But all you gotta do is put a repeater up to it, and boom. You're good to go. So it'll go 15 in both directions, so get a little bit of leeway there. And now, testing it out, making sure it's working still. And now we're gonna design the dispensers and the bone meal, right? So, here we are, checking that out. So, what you have to do and remember is that when you dispense bone meal into moss, it will, obviously convert stone blocks or natural blocks around it, like dirt and whatnot, in a certain radius. Which it goes insanely high, by the way, I found out, but we just want this stone generation slab to be changed, right? So we're gonna go ahead and keep it as is and experiment a little bit with it and see how it goes with this. We want to use all player-made blocks like cobblestone and stuff. That way they don't get converted later, and even though it's converted, it'll still try to convert it, or it'll consider it as part of the conversion, and so you'll get far less rates on your stone slab. You'll get it's abysmal. But what we do is just use the cobblestone. Makes that problem go away. And I'm trying to make it as symmetrical as possible here, so I'm just lining stuff up, trying to think of the best possible way to get it done, and nice and simple. So we need the redstone signal to hit the dispenser first, and then be slightly delayed on the piston, because when you bone meal that moss block, sometimes grass will grow onto it, or an azalea bush, or whatever, carpet. And if you don't get rid of that, it will stop it from bone mealing. It won't bone meal anymore. It won't convert anything, and once again, your farm is broken. So it's a big deal. You don't want that. Hello, goat. I don't know if this guy spawned in here or wandered from Chain's goat farm that he's doing, but whatever. Let's see. Smacking it make him angry? I don't know. I don't think so, but I gave it a try anyway, see. He did smack me a couple times while I was building the farm, but never when I was ready for him, so. They're crafty. Very crafty. But anyways, so you need that piston to pop off the top of whatever grows on top of that moss block, And if you have the dispenser and the piston going off at the exact same time, well, it's the same thing as if that grass piece was still on top of the moss block. The moss doesn't get bone mealed, and you have no rates. So, it's kind of pointless to have it going like that. So you got to make sure it's good to go. Everything's copacetic. And, part of that is, getting that delay in. So here we go. Now we're going to do the other side. You'll see me put in the delay. I do a 4 tick on that. And at first I have the two sides separated. One goes off and then the other. But I thought about it more while I was building the farm and decided against it, and I was like, it would be a lot easier since it's symmetrical to just have the dispensers going off at the same time. And then, with the hopper clock there, it's a convenient little on-off switch kind of thing on its own. So I use that for the water dispensers, right? To wash the moss downstream, right? So it all worked out pretty well. In the end, it's very nice. We get a lot of moss out of it, more than I can handle, really do anything with. But yeah, there we go. And it all works pretty well, surprisingly well. And now here we gotta figure it out and turn on the moss, or turn on the stone generator. There we go. Okay. Now from here, it's basically all just putting it back and efficiency and storage from here. So let's let you, without further ado and interruption until closer to the end here, let's let you watch. Enjoy. watching up to this point, consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and maybe even commenting Chillcraft below. Thank you. And so here we are, a finished moss farm and storage.
Well, hello. Welcome back to Shadowlands. No, I'm just kidding. This is Dynasty, the third season, technically. We've all moved on to 119. So this is a 119 realm. As you can see, we've got some mangroves in the back there already. Now, this area here is the moss farm that you just saw got built. Yep, that's right. Boom. Right? It's the same image we left off on, right? But a little different. So now, the dispensers for the bone meal and stuff, they're down in there. So if I want to refill it, I put the bone meal from here and go into there, right? And then down here we can spy on it, look in and see how it's doing. Thinking about putting in a little access hatch on the side here. That's why I've got it open right now. Here it is. Got it all nice and covered up. And it looks pretty decent from a distance here. It'll change as time goes on, but not bad. Not bad. And of course the storage area. Right over here. We run it occasionally here and there. Let's see. I occasionally throw some stacks into the chest over here to bone meal them, get some extra bone meal. Pretty good amount, pretty good supply there. That's just in addition to what is already created by running it. You know. Yeah. There it is. Moss Farm, 119, Bedrock. Oh, yeah. We'll see you next time, and have a great day. Bye-bye. Bye.